What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/petty revenge. Okay, this story is called, You Suspend Me from School But Not My Brother? That's okay, I have a cool mom. New to Reddit, first post didn't work, oh this one does and fits. I just passed my 60th birthday and have started to look back on my life and enjoying memories about growing up in times that were so different from these. It makes me very glad that I am not a teen again. It was 1975 and my first year in high school. My brother was 2 years ahead of me in the same school. We were pretty close growing up, joking around and generally having fun. We had both signed up for our classes over the summer and had finally gotten our schedules in the mail. Lo and behold, they put us in the same French 1 class. We looked at each other and went, oh yeah, this won't turn out well. We had a habit of playing off each other, and this would probably be amplified if in the same classroom. We went to the school counselor and asked for a schedule change to be in separate classes. She didn't listen. Well, okay then. It wasn't more than a few weeks when it happened, and honestly, it was just unavoidable. We were covering a unit on health with those silly, who would need to know those phrases when just learning a new foreign language type lesson. Also at this time, one of the most popular songs on the radio was La Belle, Lady Marmalade, and had the phrase, Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir in it. Do you wanna sleep with me tonight? That doesn't translate. Do you want to sleep with me tonight? Being the studious siblings we were, we had a 2-sentence dialogue using one of the available French sentences we were learning in class. As in, my brother laughingly leaned over and said, Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? To which I answered directly out of the textbook with, Non, j'aime à la tête. So sorry. No, I have a headache. Boom. I was instantly transported to the principal's office while my brother stayed in class. Say what? Yup. Mom was called and asked to pick me up immediately because I had been suspended for 3 days. Oh, how we laughed on the way home. On to the petty revenge. My mom is cool. She had things to do while I was home, so I would go with her. At some point, we ended up at the mall. We saw some platform sandals that had actual 4-wheeled roller skates tucked into the shoe. Oh my god, at that time. That is actually badass. Pull the lever on the side and they drop down, locking into place. Turn your foot over and tuck them back in. I love that. Those are like proto-heelys. I saw that smile on her face. They booted you out for what you and your brother did, but will they do it again for what I did? She bought them and I wore them the first day back to school. And how did that go, you ask? Walked into the lunch line, rolled out with my tray, walked into the principal's office, and rolled out with my mom to the car for another 3-day suspension. One of the best times of my life. Deepest thanks, Mom. P.S. I think if the principal could have suspended her, he would have. I love this story. I was imagining it through a 1970s lens, and it was beautiful. Also, that mom is so sick. My dad would have gotten so mad at me, you have no idea. But anyway, thank you for sharing, dude. This is great. Alright, this story's called, Call Me Lazy Girl While You Skip Off to Drink? I'll make you suffer for it. So this happened a few years ago on a relatively large project. We were building a 4-level house from the ground up. At the time, I was 23 working with my dad, the boss, and my stepmom's cousin who, as dubbed in a previous post, is Max, fake name. Max is an older gentleman in his 50s who is, for lack of a better word, gross. He's the type of person to knock something over that injures you and laughs and tells you to be careful next time. Okay, that's funny though. I'm sorry, it's not. But just the way they said it. Needless to say, he doesn't think that I, 23, female at the time, you a dude now, can do what he can. So he likes to refer to me as girl. Now on to the main part of the story. We had just gotten joists and trusses for the top 2 levels in the roof. It is also 6 p.m., also known as universal quitting time for construction workers, unless you work for my dad. Max, who has been working with us long enough to know we don't quit until after we've cleaned up, has vanished. Dad looks around. Where's Max? I shrug. Go inside and get him. We live just down the street from this job. So I go and find Max sitting on the couch in his dirty, sweaty clothes and a beer in his hand half gone. Done already, lazy girl? This is a new one, and I'm pissed. Dad says we aren't done. He grumbles, but downs the rest of his beer and follows me out. We get back, and Dad is already moving some of the choice into place and orders me and Max to bring the rest. Sourly, I do as asked and grab one. Max screws around and makes comments about me under his breath. Come on, lazy girl! This one he says loud enough for everyone to hear, as if I was a sled dog. I think. Lovely. Dear readers, cue my petty revenge. I grab one end and do a shuffling walk, thinking at most I'll bang his knee. Painful, but no lasting harm. I hear that sound that I'm pretty sure every guy knows as a gasp, wheeze, pained cry. I turn around to look. Max is standing directly behind the joist, holding squarely in front of his junk, looking like he wants to vomit. I may have done it a couple more times. I was not called lazy girl again. Before anyone defends him and tells me I'm awful, let me tell you, he knows he's supposed to carry these on his side. Also, he never once changed position over the dozen different ones we move. He simply wanted me to carry more weight. Oh, P, I love it. It was funny. I imagined this in like the beginning of like the pilot of a TV show, or like the beginning of a movie, you know, to show some character exposition, you know. Oh, crappy, mean jerkhead uncle that laughs at everyone. And then and then the main character who doesn't take crap. It's fun. I like it. Thank you. All right, this story's called Enter Sacred Burial Site? Yeah, you're probably cursed. A lot of people in my tribe and other natives I know tend to have quite a sense of gallows humor. Happens when there's a lot of unresolved injustice and genocide. So I'm sorry if this is too dark. I went to a school on my tribe's old territory where there's an area reserved for cultural events because it's a sacred burial site of one of our prophets. There's a stone circle with a pole in the middle with offerings and decorations. It's a pretty obvious Native American worship site. Anyway, a few years back, I'm living in the dorms and a group of boys come into the common room one night, laughing and joking about how they touched the pole. I asked, what pole? The pole in the middle of that stone thing. Do you know what it's there for? They all got kinda quiet. Some Native American thing, I guess? You guessed right. That's my tribe. And we're actually never allowed to touch that pole because it's directly over my ancestors' buried remains. That specific place is the burial site of the most bodies, but they're under these buildings too. You better go apologize. You're probably cursed now. I've never seen someone start to visibly sweat so quickly. The next day they told me they went back and apologized. Hey, good kids. This makes me think of how Ken Hotate messes with all the white people in Parks and Rec. And they can never know when he's messing with them, and he plays the hell out of them. This makes me think of that. Also, this is the first time I think I've read a story involving any Native American stuff. Y'all should post more. I'm sure like the potential for messing with people is so great. Okay, this story's called Don't Mess With My Lunch Break. My boss, Mark, is the type of guy who will send an email asking one of my team to do a task, then get up as soon as he sends it and walk to the recipient's desk to ask them to do the thing in the email. Ooh, no. It feels very micromanaging and it's incredibly annoying. Also, another coworker and I were allowed to work from home since November due to health reasons, but we were arbitrarily called back into the office last week, and I'm still a little bitter about it. It's still pretty wintry here, and we don't have a break room, so I had to eat lunch at my desk yesterday. When I do this, I lock my computer screen so I don't have to look at work for half an hour. I also put in earbuds and have my book out, so it's very obvious that I'm off the clock. Yesterday, in the middle of my break, Mark came over to ask me to answer an email that he'd forwarded to me. This email was addressed to me with him copied on it, and it had been sent less than 5 minutes before. We have a policy where we have to answer emails within 4 hours, so I was well within this limit. He started talking to me, so I made eye contact, put down the food I was in the process of eating, pulled out my earbuds, and said, "Mark, I'm at lunch. My computer isn't on, and I'll take care of the email when I log back on. He dithered around for a minute before spending the next 5 minutes explaining what the email was. My break ended, and I opened the email to answer it. A few minutes later, Mark walked out of his office on the way to the bathroom. I called over to him as he was walking out and asked him a question that absolutely could have waited until he was back. But instead, he had to spend the next 5 minutes explaining a task. Take up my 1/2-hour break? I will absolutely make you wait to go to the bathroom. What? Oh yeah, this is definitely petty. I was expecting him to or him or her to, wait 4 hours to answer the email, but this also works. Alright, this story's called Manager in Training Gets Her Ketchupins. I like it. I bet it has something to do with mayo. Let me set the scene. This was eons ago. Eons? Really? Someone's dramatic. I had a sweet deal with my parents that they'd pay for my apartment as long as I was in school and worked part-time for utilities. Stupid me went through some boyfriend drama and dropped out of college, so obviously my parents pulled their financing, and rightly so. Desperate to not move back in with them, I went out and got some jobs. I had 4 total, all part-time, one of which was at the Golden Arches in our local mall. Hopefully you guys remember malls. Oh, I went to the mall recently, and there was this guy at the kiosk. Oh my god, I'm so bad. You're supposed to ignore the people at the kiosks, but it's so hard because they're so good at catching my attention. And I just feel bad ignoring them because it's mean, but I know they don't give a crap about me, but god damn, they're so good at hooking me. Jesus. Anyway, here's the cast. There's me, 19, female, hard up for cash, manager. Turned out to be one of my best friends after my stint there. No, sorry, manager 1. Manager 2 was the epitome of corporate. Manager in Training. 16-year-old who thought she was all that and a bag of chips. Ha, not the chips. Man, am I dating myself or what? Is that not still a phrase that people use? Anyway, other misfits that work there, including a cousin of mine, but don't really fit into the story. I do have some epic tales about the misfits, but they don't work on this sub. Our grunt uniforms were black pants and a turquoise t-shirts with the list ingredients for a particular item we sold. I'm sure in your lifetime you've heard the songs they've made with the ingredients. Oh god, how old is this? The managers had blouses. Yes, they were all female, but these derpy bow tie-like things. Manager in Training also had a blouse derp tie, just in a different color. This is relevant. At 19, busting my ass as much as I could at all of my jobs that I didn't give 2 flying F's about, I just kept my head down and worked. I didn't really talk to that many people at any of my jobs, except previously mentioned cousin and manager 1. I went in, did my job, went home. Working at night at Georgia was fine. The people were more laid back, manager 1 was the closer, and we all just did our thing. Plus, not Georgia, Golden Arches. Plus, there was a candy shop in the mall we traded with. We'd load up Golden Arches bags and run downstairs and get pounds of Jelly Bellies. This was by far the best perk. Jelly beans are my favorite non-chocolate candy, probably. During the day was a whole different story. People actually fought to work breakfast and lunch because it was a better schedule for them. I was a floater as I had to try to eke in as many hours as I could. Manager 2, being uber corporate, was just a hard ass. I, again, didn't care that much about the job. She started hating me after I refused to be a manager in training. I had no desire to do their training program and become what she was. Enter manager in training. Remember, she's 16. She was always really chipper and bubbly, cheerleader at the local high school to the managers, but a complete bimbo to the rest of us hamburger grunts. Put the fries in the fryer too fast? Threat of a write-up. Didn't dash out to clean tables as soon as they were empty because there was a rush? Threat of a write-up. Didn't have your obnoxious turquoise hat that no one looked good in the right angle? Threat of a write-up. See where I'm going with this? You've never seen such a power trip. The best part is, she had no actual authority over us. To the other managers, she was one of us grunts in prettier clothes. Manager in Training had this absolutely awful habit of socking you in the arm before she talked to you. Not a polite tap, no. Full-on punch. As you can imagine, I got hit a lot as I was always there. It got to the point that I started to get bruises. Obviously, I went to the managers after asking her to simply stop. Didn't work. They said, "Oh, she's just like that. Just ignore it." After a month solid of ignoring it, I'd had enough. I talked to manager 1 about it at closing and showed her my arms. She agreed that something had to be done, but she was A, not there when it happened. God forbid you just take someone's word about abuse at Golden Arches. And B, she was the lowest manager other than manager in training there. It was really out of her hands. The Wednesday I worked next. Yes, I remember the day of the week. Manager in training came in, and when she finally came around and punched me again, I bent down and got her in her pimply, braced out face. She was shorter than me by 5 inches, and told her very calmly that this last punch was the last punch. An hour, just a mere 60 minutes went by. She came up to me while I was making hamburgers and punched me again. If you're unfamiliar with the workings of Golden Arches in the back end where we make the food, we had these squirters. I'm sure they have a term for it, but I didn't care that much. For ketchup and mustard that squirt a very precise amount of each condiment onto their burger. It held about a liter of condiment, give or take. I don't do measurements well, and they were both recently filled. Anyway, when she punched me, I had the ketchup squirter in hand. I whipped around to face manager in training, told her, "I warned you," and proceeded to empty the ketchup on her from head to toe. It was in her hair, running down her face, in her blouse, just a mess. She started screaming at me that I ruined her blouse and she's a manager, how dare I, and on and on. Then she starts crying and runs to the bathroom. This is like that one scene from Carrie, the prom night. Anyway, sorry. The other misfits started giggling, then chuckling, then full out fall over guffawing. Manager 2 happened to be there and raced to check on manager in training as all she saw was a flying red disaster when she went to the bathroom. I turned back to my ketchup squirter, refilled it, and waited. 20 minutes later, manager 2 pulled me aside to get my story. I told her I tried to ignore her and warned her not to do it again. I didn't get a write-up. Funny enough, they couldn't figure out a way to word it where ketchup would sound abusive? You know what? This is a really cool story. I'm happy for the ending. I'm glad OP got to, get her back. Badass. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.